Alright, so there are a couple things I wanted to address with this game that have kind of come out here recently. This is an Assassin's Creed news account, whatever the hell this guy's name is. He just made this tweet here, Yasuke during a leisurely stroll. This is the guy that has been replying to anybody with any sort of criticism with go crying, and he's been doing it over and over again. I don't know how many times. Absolutely insane. But we're gonna go back here, and here is a quote tweet that this guy, who actually lives in Japan, made here. Watermelons and cherry blossoms are being seen in the same shot here. And here's a reply to that. This person here, the hidden one, this guy's a retard. After Shadows, Assassin's Creed should never return to Japan. I've seen levels of nitpicking I've never seen before, and it's only for Japan. Shut the fuck up, retard. We all know why this game's getting torn apart, and you're not paying attention. This game deserves everything it's getting. The reason why it's getting all these nitpicks right now is because of the levels that Ubisoft has really already gone to disrespecting the hell out of Japan. So now, of course, it's gonna get torn apart like this, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is what happens when products like Assassin's Creed Shadows, for example, are made by people who don't give a fuck. They're made by people who are ran by a bunch of feminists, and the products that they're making turn out like shit. And this person is looking at this tweet here, absent of all of that, and that's the issue. So here is a reply to that from the same guy who is from Japan. I can't pronounce that name, but yeah, so in Japan since 2006, I believe the guy knows what he's talking about. He explains here that no Japanese person or person who has lived in Japan thinks it's authentic to see cherry blossoms and watermelons together. It's like seeing a snowman on a beach. And I've seen this explained as cherry blossoms are from the spring and watermelons are supposed to be a summer fruit. Also, apparently, watermelons didn't actually appear in Japan until like 100 years after this game takes place. The actual first proper appearance of these things in Japanese history was in the 1600s, I believe, and this game takes place in the 1500s. And here we have a much better illustration here from this guy here. So we have the sakura tree from spring, and then of course the watermelons are from summer. And for comparison, he added the snowman from winter. So he says, in order to help people understand, I added a snowman to the original image. The sakura tree, or the cherry blossom, is a symbol of spring, watermelon's a symbol of summer, and the snowman is a symbol of winter. Pointing out that multiple seasons occurring in the same shot is not a commentary about historical accuracy. It is showing that Ubisoft has not put any effort at all into accurately representing a version of Japan that has ever existed or exists today. Assassin's Creed games may be fiction, but they have been praised in the past for their accurate portrayal of the setting. This is very, very true. Let's not forget what the actual I believe it was the creative director of the game actually said about this game, that you're going to be able to learn about the setting. So you can't gaslight us about this. Historical fiction does not generally mean the setting is nonsense land with fish swimming through the air, rain falling upwards, and snowmen drinking cocktails on a summer beach. This is a very similar argument that I've made in the past. People talking about how this is historical fiction, therefore Yasuke being this big giant legendary samurai is okay. Okay, why don't we have dinosaurs flying around with jetpacks and shit? What the fuck, man? So other than that silly little nonsense, there is an article from That Park Place that I was pretty interested in. So there have been a few instances of these Ubisoft employees kind of coming out and leaking information that we can't really confirm as the audience or whatever, but the people who are relaying this information I do trust, like Endymion is one, for example, Kada on YouTube, or Khalil Too Short on Twitter. He has a couple of, or at least one insider, and these are people I trust. So I'm gonna read through this, and the information in here is pretty entertaining, to be honest. Exclusive: Assassin's Creed Shadows delay was to scale back Yasuke after historical backlash. Now, recently Endymion released another video talking about how they're not really removing anything about Yasuke in this game, but in the advertising campaign, they're certainly making it look like they are. So I believe this article actually talks about how they're kind of scaling him back, but not really removing anything, because that would probably cost a lot of money, and they would basically feel like they were taking the knee to the online haters, I guess. That Park Place sources confirmed that Ubisoft delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows in order to make narrative cuts that severely limit the role of Yasuke in the story. So I'm not really sure if they're trying to really just push Naue forward and push Yasuke to the side, or if that they are actually making narrative cuts. Ubisoft made headlines recently by delaying the game a whole month. Many assumed at the time that Shadows was a buggy mess, similar to Ubisoft's Star Wars Outlaws when it launched. That's an understatement. Huh? And while that may have been true, early hands-on streams have shown more than a few glitches and bugs.
A lot of enemies don't use weapons in this game. They're like, my feet will just kill you as well. Or I think there's something.
Oh look, a massive pile of watermelons near a blooming cherry blossom. Rifle clips through helmet.
We have it on good authority that there's something else going on behind the scenes. So it explains here that basically playing as Yasuke is kind of inferior to Naoe. Naoe is really the one with all the assassin abilities, and Yasuke is just a big brute who can barely even climb anything. According to our source, the $20 million delay of Assassin's Creed Shadows was not merely to polish the game, but to shift focus away from Yasuke as the main protagonist. Evidence of this can already be seen in the marketing, where Yasuke is increasingly absent from prominent posters that feature Naoe more prominently instead. This is true. There is a pre-order page that actually completely removed the poster with the two characters for just a picture of Naoe. This appears to be a reaction to the backlash Ubisoft has faced, not only from longtime fans of the franchise, but also from many Japanese critics angered by Yasuke's portrayal as a far more significant historical figure than he actually was. Now, this isn't just happening because Ubisoft is, like, scared of these people. What they're scared of is a lack of money, because they're about to lose a whole bunch of fucking money, and we really don't even know how bad this game is gonna flop, and I don't think they know either. Furthermore, rumors suggest that many of Yasuke's quests, including main and side content, have been removed or heavily altered. Again, this kind of contradicts the video that Endymion recently released, talking about how they're not actually cutting anything regarding Yasuke, but they're more just shifting him to the side with the marketing. This straight up suggests that actual content is either being removed or heavily altered. Maybe it's the heavily altered part kind of goes with that consistently. I don't know. These cuts are reportedly intended to avoid offending Japanese audiences and historians who have criticized this game's historical inaccuracy. A significant portion of the controversy ties back to Thomas Lockley, whose work Ubisoft allegedly used as the primary inspiration for Yasuke's character. I mean, that is an issue when you use a book that is partially historical but also heavily fictional to portray something that you guys claimed was historical at first. It's rumored that some of Yasuke's cut content in the game, including quests tied to his supposed rise as a samurai, were directly influenced by Lockley's work and later removed to avoid further controversy. I don't know how true that is. Another thing that I have heard, I forget who actually said this, it might have been Keita with his source, but I think it was something along the lines of they were removing quests that involved Yasuke doing some gay shit. Anyways, Ubisoft's response to this backlash seems to include a shift in marketing focus, that's obvious, with greater emphasis on Naoe's parkour system and the game's shinobi elements, which is all it should have been in the first place. We don't need a big hulking fucking samurai. This is an Assassin's Creed game. Let us play as the ninja assassins. That's all we fucking wanted. And now we gotta play as a tiny little teenage girl and a big fat giant samurai dude. Trailers that initially highlighted Yasuke's samurai way during the game's announcement are now conspicuously less centered on him, reflecting a clear pivot in how the game is presented. Whether this last-minute reworking can salvage the project or not remains to be seen, but the changes seem like a desperate attempt to appease critics and salvage public perception. Good luck with that, guys. From Samurai to Creed, what the fuck does that mean? Ubisoft rewrites Yasuke's role in Assassin's Creed Shadows. The delay was used to refine Naoe's parkour system significantly and to heavily alter many dialogue interactions between Yasuke, Naoe, and NPCs throughout the story. However, as our source mentioned, they could only do so much. Yeah, no shit. Especially when you guys are on a limited budget. How many millions of dollars did it cost for all those delays? Among these dialogue changes were discussions where Yasuke was previously presented as a samurai and celebrated for his renown among Japanese NPCs. I'm wondering if that refers to the fact that people are bowing down to him when he walks through the streets. I don't know. Now it seems that this has been altered to focus on the creed. Nothing is true, everything is permitted? What? Which will be built by both main characters. What the fuck? People gotta stop using the word creed to refer to the Brotherhood. A creed is a written down system of beliefs. It doesn't mean group of people. At least I'm assuming that's the use that they're trying to go for here. I don't know, let me reword this. It seems that this has been altered to focus on the Brotherhood, which will be built by both main characters. I don't understand what that means either. They're gonna build the Brotherhood? But it already exists. With Naoe taking a more prominent role. This shit makes no sense. Ubisoft has also reworked cutscenes where Yasuke was initially featured more prominently, with Naoe now portrayed as the driving force of the duo. From what we understand, it feels almost as though Naoe has taken the lead role, even though players will still have the option to switch between the two characters. So, that should have been the fucking case in the first place, considering Naoe seems to be the only character here who is an assassin. What the fuck is Yasuke? Why is he here? Our source also stated that the delay was primarily aimed at reevaluating Yasuke's role to avoid further bad press from historical fanatics. Wow, because that's such a bad thing to get criticism from historical fanatics on your history video game. Ubisoft reportedly sought to minimize criticism from Japanese historians by making the game more historically accurate where possible. Are you gonna remove the watermelons? However, as seen in recent previews, many inaccuracies still remain, of course. And then it talks about the watermelons right here. Now, apparently, the most egregious inaccuracies were related to Yasuke's portrayal. I wonder what that means specifically. Because there is a point in the campaign where Yasuke is in a room with Nobunaga and a bunch of other people, and Yasuke is looking around at a bunch of people's weapons and shit, and Nobunaga's like, oh, he might be a warrior. He noticed every threat in the room. So I don't know if it's referring to something like that or what. Efforts were made to mitigate these issues. However, they added that there are still individuals within Ubisoft who remain adamant that Yasuke's character will resonate with players and become a success. You don't say. You got a bunch of fucking weirdo white feminist retards at Ubisoft who think playing as fucking, as Kata called him, Yasuke Floyd is gonna resonate with players? Who? Anyways, I just wanted to cover this because this is a bunch of silly ass shit, and it reminds me of the supposed rumors about how the game was actually inspired by BLM back in 2020, where they actually started off with a relatively interesting story about a monk who meets Hattori Hanzo, an assassin, and actually joins the Brotherhood eventually, and I forget what the exact story was, but it was much more interesting than whatever the hell this is supposed to be. And then George Floyd gets a fucking knee on his neck, and suddenly we get Yasuke. That's exactly why I wanted to make this video. Because if all this silly shit is going on behind the scenes at Ubisoft, I want to make fun of it. Like, there are also rumors going around that a lot of the feminist freaks at Ubisoft have actually been angered by the fact that most players choose the male option in these games. And so the reason why they chose a definitive male and female character for this game was so that you basically have to play as that female now. So it's like, looking at the demographics of these two characters, it's like a feminist wet dream. You get a fucking woman and a black dude. No white men or Japanese men, because we know those are on the same level on the oppression pyramid for leftists. And that's all I can fucking think about when I look at these characters, man. I want this game to be good so bad, and I don't trust that that's gonna happen. Because we've got people behind the scenes who have socio-political agendas right now. We're not the ones making this political, guys. We're only reacting to what's being shown to us. What's been consistently shown to us. Ubisoft has multiple articles on their websites talking about their DEI initiatives. We're not making this shit up, people. This is a real thing that they like to do. And I'm gonna make fun of it the entire way here. That's why I'm gonna pay $70 to play this shitty-ass game. I don't want to do it, but I have to. I don't have to. I don't know why I'm doing this. Leave a like and subscribe if you want to support my mental health, because Lord knows I'm gonna need it when this game comes out.